Welcome everyone. We're excited to share some country wisdom with you.
King Solomon had a thing or two to say about the path to wisdom. In Proverbs 4, he wrote, "Let your eyes look directly forward and your gaze be straight before you. Keep straight the path of your feet, and all your ways will be sure."
Join us now for country wisdom. Even yawning now, that's even a sign.
Season 4, Episode 3, Scene 1, Take 1.
All right, you guys ready? Here we go. Nope, we don't need it for that. Here we go.
You know what's really cool is,
I need to sit down a minute. I'm sorry.
you okay?
Look, you all right?
I've got a cramp in my leg, and I don't know. I'm just not feeling. Give me a minute.
We don't have to work on the episode if you're not feeling good.
No, that's what we're here for.
How about this? How about I've got a doctor friend in town. Let's go see him. He'll be happy to.
No, I
Give him
don't
a
want to
quick
waste
call.
everyone's time. I'll be okay. Just give me a minute.
Get
Listen.
Steve over here.
Listen, I know you well enough. We've got to take you in.
Just
All
because
right?
you're a doctor and my husband, I don't have to listen to you.
You will listen to me, won't you?
All right, get up. Let's go. Let's go. Hello.
So Janice, you've told me you've been having some problems. Explain again, what's going on?
I don't think it's that important, but I've been tired, but we've been busy. And yeah, I'm not sleeping really well, but I keep getting these cramps in my legs. And so they dragged me into here. I didn't want to come. We're filming. We've got a show to do. But they insisted that I come get checked out. And I think just give me a pill, give me a shot, whatever, get me on our way so that we can get back to work.
Okay. Let me ask you a few questions first, okay? What's your diet?
Why? What does that have to do with my leg?
It has to do with nutrition. I'm just curious who you are.
Well, I think it's pretty good. What do you want to know?
What do you actually eat? Are you plant-based? Are you
Mostly.
fat-based? Are you
Well,
carb-based?
you didn't tell me he was going to ask such personal questions.
I don't,
No. Mostly plant-based, but you know.
Okay, now you're in charge. Okay, I'm just the coach here, okay? So you can stop me anytime. But I'm just trying to figure out who you are really, okay? You say you're fatigued. How much energy do you actually have? Is it throughout the day? Is it more in the morning, evening? Where is it?
I don't know. It seems like I'm tired all the time.
Okay. And how much sleep are you getting?
Well, I'm in bed at night by 10. But then I often just lie there. The lists are going, the brain, I can't turn it off.
Okay. Do you use a lot of cell phone or Wi-Fi computer before bedtime?
Maybe.
Okay. Just curious, okay?
I'm sure glad I came in for this today with you. I'm learning quite a bit.
So what about exercise? How much exercise do you get?
Busted. But it's not all my fault. I've had both hips replaced. You know,
I'm not
but
pointing
no,
fingers,
I
I'm
don't.
just curious.
Yes, you are.
Well, okay,
Okay, I don't get very much exercise.
all right.
Like none.
How much water are you drinking during the day?
That I do well. I drink a lot of water, and I don't drink soda.
Okay.
It's like
So no
one
teas,
really
no
good.
sodas, none of
My
that.
good habit is I drink plenty of water.
Okay.
How much did you have on set today?
That's different. It's not my normal
It's
schedule.
not your normal schedule.
How about you're busy all the time? Do you ever get out in the sun?
A little bit. I don't like being in the sun.
But you live in Northern California,
Yeah.
otherwise known as Superior California. Okay. Where we get a lot of sun, but did you realize that you can stand outside literally in a swimsuit 5 months out of the year and not make any vitamin D?
Really?
Yes, in this county.
I thought you only needed like 15 minutes.
Isn't that interesting? Okay. All right, what about rest? How do you do with rest?
Well, I wouldn't be fatigued if I got enough rest.
Okay.
That's
Dr.
chronic. That's just life today. How do you get enough rest with our life?
I'm going to interrupt you for a minute because it's getting really uncomfortable. We're answering personal questions. I found this hat that you had sitting here in the office, which is kind of a spoof hat, I guess. But the reason I wanted to bring that up is today, when Janice kind of fainted up there on stage, her daughter was in the back, and nobody had told her we were going to stage the whole thing so we could come down here and talk to you about health. She was ready to just come unglued because her mother was bad.
I'm kind of a good actress.
But we just did this so we could get you talking about real health for people, because people don't understand what's going on. So if you would, just kind of keep going, but don't ask the personal questions for her maybe now. But talk about these things.
Should we actually trust people just because they're a doctor?
He looks pretty good though, doesn't he? Well, the reason I'm asking these questions, I'm trying to get an idea of who you are. Now, nowadays we actually go into the genetics. With genetics, you can actually see the potential of diseases you may come down with when you look at the medical genetics, not the 23andMe, but the actual medical genetics, okay? So I could be asking you, what's your nationality?
English,
100%?
just about.
Okay, you have no Scottish or Irish in that.
Well, no, I do, yes. Celtic is,
You never know who it is with Celtic. Okay, all right. Which means you have some of the worst genes in the world, okay?
I think they're the best people.
That's fine, okay, but
Worst genes in what way?
well, Scotch-Irish men carry, 70% of us carry the gene that makes it almost impossible to absorb B vitamins.
Yeah, my mother was a Wallace.
Okay. When I was in medical school, they always taught us that what was in the blood was a true reflection of what was in the cell. And that was a good way to test things. Now we can actually test what's in the cell with certain tests. And you can tell that especially B vitamins, certain people have very high levels of B vitamins in the blood, almost nothing in the cell. And those B vitamins do all kinds of things. They make the feel-good neurotransmitters, for instance. Okay, so people who have depression, who have anxiety, all that kind of stuff.
Are you tired of running the proverbial rat race? Do you find yourself feeling overwhelmed, burned out, and struggling to get through your day? This little booklet is packed with 16 practical ways you can reduce your stress and bring joy into your day. We would like to give it to you absolutely free. Just go to TalkingDonkeyInternational.org and request offer number 152 today.
You know, no one could ever calculate the amount of sacrifice that went into the making of this great nation, the gains of so many because of the loss of the precious few. You know, as a child in school, I sang America the Beautiful, God bless America. We started every day by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. But a lot has changed. Biblical predictions are taking shape at an amazing pace. If you're about my age, you know that this is not the country we all grew up in. It seems like this nation is rushing toward a cliff with no possibility of return. When I became a Christian, I began studying biblical prophecy, last day events. I found a book called The Great Controversy that was amazing in its clarity. If you'd like a copy, log on to our website.
To order your free copy of The Great Controversy, go to TalkingDonkeyInternational.org. Click on the Store tab and order your copy today.
So can't you just give me like a shot of B12 or something? I've heard they're amazing, and I'm out of here and I'm good.
But the point is you have to use the right B12. We
There's more
can't
than
use
one
cyanocobalamin. We have to use methylcobalamin.
Is he speaking English?
I think so.
Okay, so there's a bunch of different types of B12. Because of your genetics, you're more likely not to absorb the man-made, which is cyanocobalamin. You need the God-made, which is methylcobalamin. That you will absorb, okay? That's why you may be having some B12 deficiencies that may be causing some things. There's other things. When we're talking about your legs and cramping and things, the number one deficiency we see in functional medicine is magnesium deficiency. Anytime you have something doing this, whether it's blood pressure, whether it's muscles, that's a lack of magnesium. Okay, so that's kind of a general thing. Think about magnesium for that. Okay?
If I can interrupt, because you told me that some time back. Go out hiking a lot and everything, or skiing, and come home. Man, all of a sudden I'm cramping up and got some of the magnesium, take a bath in it. Oh man, helps a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. It's almost like, you know, how can this be? It's just so simple. But you want a pill or a shot. Okay.
Something fast.
Let's keep thinking about that. You told me that you're not sleeping well, but you're using screen time before you go to bed.
Well, you kind of have to check to see if you've gotten any emails, any texts, check the news.
Okay. All right.
You've really gone from preaching to meddling now.
Tell me about your stress. You're working with some people who can get very stressful, so tell me about your stress.
Everybody's stressed nowadays. How do you even measure it? How do
So you
how
think
do I
you're
know
no
if I'm
more
more
than anybody else?
Well, how do I know if I have more stress than average?
Okay. I think that's good. What about pain? Do you have any pain?
Do you know how old I am?
Okay. Now,
It just comes
I
with the
so wanted
territory.
to say something, I thought I better not.
now, Janice, in mainstream medicine, we go a lot by age. Okay, that's a bad excuse. Okay, in functional medicine, we don't talk about age because it has to do with hormone, nutrition, supplements, all those are dropping, enzymes. If you can get those back up to where they should be, frequently there isn't an aging problem. Now that sounds like heresy, I know, coming from somebody who's trained classically, but we see it, and it's amazing when you see it. So don't tell me about age. I don't care about your age, okay? I'm caring
I
about
like
your
'em now.
symptoms. Remember, I'm the coach, you're the mainstream here, okay? You're the one that's running things.
You've had a long period of swinging the pendulum from one direction to the other, right? Because I remember you telling me years ago you were trained that when in doubt, cut it out, F too late to radiate.
That's correct.
But you swung around a lot. Why?
Well, most people who have gone more into functional medicine did it because of a particular reason. Either they had a family member they couldn't fix, they had a very good friend they couldn't fix, or they had themselves, you know, where they suddenly said something else has to occur because it's not working. Okay, so I had kind of a combination there. And the people you talk to who are talking at these big courses, these are not poorly trained doctors. These are some of the tops in the field. You start listening to these guys and you do a few things they tell you, it's like, whoa, what have I been told? Okay? And from our standpoint, we've been told that nutrition and all these other things I've been talking about, the exercise, the water, all that, that's really health. The old guys used to say, let thy food be thy medicine. Who said that one? Is that Hippocrates? Okay, I mean, this is nothing new. The old guys used to say this. And of course, we're more into this idea that the old folks didn't know anything. We're so smart.
Right. We have modern science.
I think that's not totally correct. You look at go down to South America and you look at those pyramids and those single blocks of rock, we don't know how to move one of them. We don't have equipment to move them. And yet these people who knew nothing built those things.
You know, no one could ever calculate the amount of sacrifice that went into the making of this great nation. The gains of so many because of the loss of the precious few. You know, as a child in school, I sang America the Beautiful, God bless America. We started every day by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. But a lot has changed. Biblical predictions are taking shape at an amazing pace. If you're about my age, you know that this is not the country we all grew up in. It seems like this nation is rushing toward a cliff with no possibility of return. When I became a Christian, I began studying biblical prophecy, last day events. I found a book called The Great Controversy that was amazing in its clarity. If you'd like a copy, log on to our website.
To order your free copy of The Great Controversy, go to talkingdonkeyinternational.org. Click on the Store tab and order your copy today.
You know the impact of Christ's message. It heals, it transforms. Do you have the eye for a great post, the heart for a kind comment, the skill to build community?
Talking Donkey International is looking for passionate volunteers, from seasoned content creators to newcomers.
We are a Christian community dedicated to sharing Christ's love.
This is a real opportunity to turn your time into ministry. Scan the QR code.
To make a lasting impact.
Hey Janice, how are you doing?
Hey, you wrote another book.
I did. Had a burden on my heart and God helped me get it done.
So, The Plan of Love, what's it about?
Well, it's really about God in eternity. Saw everything that was going to happen here, and His amazing love. He says, I'm going to take care of the problems. I'm going to take care of the situation by giving my own life. He did all that, but we've been lied to so much, we don't see what God has planned for us, what God is doing for us. Matter of fact, the angel came down to Mary and said, you shall call his name Jesus, for he shall save his people from their sins. Notice it wasn't in, but from.
Where can people get the book?
Hey, I'm glad you asked. Folks, if you'd like your own personal copy, log on to talkingdonkeyinternational.org. And please, if you would, send us a donation of $12.
Or more.
Or more. And we'll get you the book, and I'll be happy to sign it for you too. Thank you so much. You mentioned one time, and I've thought about it, and I've looked up much of his history, Dr. John Harvey Kellogg. He was probably one of the biggest physicians in the country, in the world. People came from all over the world, and he had the type of medicine I think you're talking about now that they might call it antiquated now, but it was making major inroads into the health problems of people.
Kings and queens and princes were coming from Europe to see this guy.
So what was he doing that was so groundbreaking?
He had an institution where he was doing like I'm doing. What are you eating? How are you exercising? What are you thinking? Okay, because stress is huge.
So Solomon was right when he said a merry heart does good like a medicine?
Absolutely. And in fact, there are some doctors, I could quote his name out of Germany right now, who says that disease starts in the brain. And I kind of questioned it, but I have watched him long enough and I've asked him enough questions, he's right on. Okay? You can look at any type of disease, you can look at it and there's an underlying and it's all the same. Very, very incredible. So how we're thinking has a lot to do with how we feel. So that's why I was asking, what's your stress? What are you thinking about every day? Are you all stressed up? Are you worried about things? Are we actually thinking on higher thoughts? Makes a huge difference.
So you think that God, that Scripture, can tell us how to improve our health?
Absolutely.
I had quoted Solomon there with a merry heart does good like a medicine.
Absolutely.
And they're finding out that that's really true? Mm-hmm. I know it's a shock. The Bible's actually true.
Yeah.
They're also finding that some of the longest lived people groups in the world are plant-based, which was the original diet, if you believe Scripture. Okay?
Garden of Eden.
God didn't make a mistake. While we're talking about that, did Adam and Eve wear shoes?
I don't think Nikes had been invented.
Why is that important? Well, it's just that God, he could have given them shoes, but we're not aware that he did. And what we're finding is that you can heal an awful lot of things if you start grounding. What that means is taking shoes and socks off, put your feet on the ground. And they've done testing.
In the dirt?
Yes, they've done testing now. And within 2 to 3 minutes, a person goes from sympathetic mode, which is stress, to parasympathetic, which is relaxed.
So
That's true.
I can help myself feel better by just walking barefoot on my lawn?
Absolutely. Why do you think when we go to the beach, see, we're up here in the mountains, okay? When we go to the beach and you walk along the beach, you say, wow, I feel so good. It's the spray from the waves. It's this, it's that, seeing the birds. It's grounding. That's what it is. We don't normally take shoes and socks off.
This sounds a little hippy-dippy.
Absolutely. That's the amazing thing about it. Because it takes a little bit of of mind bending to get your mind around some of these things.
What would you tell some of the doctors who may be watching this program right now and say, oh, give me a break?
Because I'm sure people come in, like I was pretending to do. Give me a quick fix. What you're talking about is more changing my lifestyle.
What I would say, number one, are you a Christian? Do you believe in the Bible? If you believe in the Bible, tell me, how long did the old guys live?
Yeah,
The oldest guy was 969 years old.
Methuselah.
Was that just accidental? What changed after the flood?
Diet, for one thing.
Diet, huge, okay? We also believe that the atmospheric pressure changed after the flood, okay?
Well, you can't control that.
Well, why do you think people are doing more and more oxygen, hyperbaric oxygen, in curing certain things? Was that because prior to the flood they had those things? It was natural in the atmosphere? I mean, we don't know this. I'm just saying, broaden your thinking here. What happened before the flood? What was different? Certainly, nutrition was different, no question. Okay, but it may also have been that they weren't getting the same rays, cosmetic rays, whatever. Something definitely changed after the flood. And it's something to start thinking about when we're looking at all this, okay, here's all your symptoms, what's going on here? We need to start getting back to fundamentals and say, what can you do? And yes, I can give you a pill. But who are you supporting with that pill? You're not supporting yourself. Because if you have an underlying deficiency, we need to know that, because it's not just in your muscle you're getting that. You're going to start getting it a lot of other places.
Are there any acronyms that you could kind of lay out that people can kind of think about in their daily habits that maybe they can follow to take away on this program?
Well, there is an acronym that's Weimar out of California has it. It's called New Start, okay, which is nutrition, exercise, water, sunlight, temperance, air, rest, and the T is trust in divine power. That's their logo that they use, but I think that's very, very fundamental to what we're talking about here. We can throw drugs at people all over the place, but to get back to the original, what the doctors used to do is, what's the underlying cause? I don't want to just give you a diagnosis. Yeah, your diagnosis is cramping in your leg. That doesn't tell me anything. You could tell me that,
I did.
I can put a code on it that you can't put. I can put a new, ICD-10 code on it, but the underlying cause is what you want to know. Because if we can clear up the cause, the problem will go away.
I watched my parents, and I knew that you mentioned in there the NEW, water, for the third one in that acronym. I tried to get them to drink water as they were getting old, tried. Oh yeah, I drink water, And it ends up about 7 ounces a day. That's a problem, isn't it?
It's a problem.
And why? If it's a problem, why?
Anybody who's drawing blood, any phlebotomists that's watching this, they'll know that certain people have very, very thick blood. Okay, that's part of the problem. If you're not drinking enough water, your blood is getting thick, which
What
means
does
you're
that
more.
do? Yeah, I'm sorry. I interrupted you. You're going to tell us. What does that do?
Well, you're more susceptible to stroke and all that other kind of stuff with thick blood like that. It doesn't get to where you want it to get.
But just drinking water seems too simple.
We've been told years and years ago, perfect health requires perfect circulation. That's part of it. If you got thick blood, you do not have good circulation.
How many glasses of water a day?
Half of your body weight in ounces a day. Which for a lot of people, don't go out. If you're not used to doing that, don't go out and do that right away. You're gonna hate me, okay? You gotta get used to it. You gotta slowly work into it. But it makes a huge difference with people.
You'll think Christmas and Thanksgiving and New Year's all came in the same week?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm interested in that final T, that actual trust in God is good for your health.
Absolutely. Now we could use and I may be stepping into things here, we could use as this last pandemic we had with COVID-19. Did we actually trust that God would do what's right for you? Or did you actually think that you had to wear the mask and stay away from everybody and all this, exactly opposite what we were taught when we grew up? What we were taught when we grew up is you look at a person in their eyes and say hello. You don't look this way and act like, you know, they're going to give you something. So we could say it right there.
The fear that gripped people.
Absolutely.
Stress was through the roof.
Absolutely.
So
and look at how many people
the worst
died.
way to handle it.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. That's why getting back to the simple things of health, you know, just like
the sunlight, the
Yes.
water, the nutrition,
and I was going to even get into blood sugar.
the exercise.
Yes, that's where the exercise comes in, is the blood sugar. If your blood sugars are high, it's not how much you exercise, it's when you exercise. Exercise immediately after your meals.
We've got a little less than 2 minutes. What would you tell people is the most important things in their life for their health?
Or if people, you know, you can't just throw a whole new lifestyle at people. If they only changed one thing or two, you know, pick one, what would be the easiest, the simplest, something they can start doing today that might keep them out of your office?
The big thing is what you're eating. Okay, you've got to go on a plant-based diet. And I say that because nowadays animals are diseased, all animals. And the more disease there is, the more you're concentrating that disease. You're eating that flesh. No wonder we have so many problems. So it's diet first. And number two is the water. The water is huge, okay? Because so many of my patients are way behind in water. And they don't realize why they have a dry tongue, why all these other things happen.
So it all has to do with the kidneys, basically. Eat all the meat, the kidneys have to deal with all the disease from the animal, and then you're not drinking enough water, so they can't even process that.
Yeah, very true.
43 seconds. Look in that camera and tell folks what they need to be doing right now. They've heard most of it, but what would be the thing that you beg? Oh, excuse me. The director's telling me this camera.
Okay. People should go on a plant-based diet, and it would be an organic plant-based diet. There's too much toxicity in regular foods, so that we need to do. You need to increase your water until you're drinking half your weight in ounces a day. You need to exercise, and try to get exercise immediately after eating, because it's the exercise that will drop your blood sugars, okay? And then watch what you're thinking. And that has to do with stress and everything else. You've got to watch
the final T of New Start.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Doctor, thank you so much. We need to do another episode at some time to hear everything else you've got, so thank you.
You're welcome.
And I need to go get a drink of water.
Thank you for watching. Join us again for another exciting Country Wisdom.
See you next time.